feature an esteemed member of the Greater Kendall Business Association. As always, we want to thank Community News for allowing us this platform. It's really a great way to get to know our members and what they're all about. Today, we have a guest that's a little bit different because you would think that somebody who joined a business organization would have a business or be a professional. In this case, she definitely was all that and more, but now she's dedicated more to other things. And I want to welcome Aster Bato Mohamed. Aster, how are you today?
Thank you. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
So, Aster, I've read your book. Your life is nothing short of amazing. I think the only thing maybe that you have left in your life is to climb Mount Everest, if you ever wanted to do that. And I believe you could do that if you could. But I wanted to talk to you first about the title of your book, because it's very evident throughout the book. You're quoting scripture throughout the whole thing, basically. Why the title, The Joy of Walking by Faith? Where did you get that title?
The joy of walking by faith, really, it just came to me because the fact that my eldest brother raised me up.
Obo Eresa, that means brother. And since I was a child, we were instructed or used to pray in the morning, pray in the evening, and read the scriptures. And that has been engraved in my head. And the joy means it's really the combination and the comprehensive journey I had means every step of my life was joy, even though there were obstacles. Sure there were.
Yeah.
A lot of obstacles. So going back to your life in Ethiopia, obviously very different from here. And my curiosity is, your last name is Mohammed. Is Ethiopia a Muslim country? And then the missionaries came?
Well, I met my husband in Minnesota when I was doing my undergraduate. And he was doing his PhD. Actually, Mohammed is really... I'm not a Muslim, and even though there were a lot of Muslims in Ethiopia, I was raised as a Protestant, baptized as a Protestant, and I want the name Mohammed as a last name because it meant a lot to my life.
Okay.
The fact that I came to Miami-Dade is because of him.
Okay. One of the things you mentioned in the book, and you've gone from place to place to place, you talk about culture shock. So, here you are, a girl who tended cattle, right? And you mentioned culture shock in your book. What kind of culture shock did you experience?
First, really going from the village to go to the capital where I went to high school is a culture shock within my own country because they spoke a different language, which is a national language, which I learned in elementary school. And also they are dressed differently. They are more advanced than me. Now, if you want me to go further, when I went to Germany, it was a completely a different culture shock.
Starting with the weather, right?
The weather. I had to describe it. My brother said, well, it looks like sugar, but it melts. They don't even know what a melt means because we didn't have ice. No refrigerators growing up. So it was, eating. We don't eat pork. You have to do what the Romans do. And so that's what I did. I ate the pork. I lived it the way they did. And also I have to learn German, which was really my third language to learn.
How many languages do you know now?
I do know 4. The Oromifa, which I grew up with, which is my mother language. And then the Amharic is used to be the national language. And then the English, and then I learned the German, yes, I did, but I know a little bit Spanish, but not
You
to
have
the
to know
point.
Spanish if you've lived here since the 70s.
In the 70s, I did, yeah. I should.
Yeah.
I would add more.
One of the things that is just amazes me about you is that it seems like you never stopped learning. That's one thing. Your life has been all about education, starting from elementary school. Did all your siblings go to school or not?
Well, I am the last of 6
Right.
siblings, actually 8, because 2 died before.
Right, I read
me.
that.
And really, I was the only one so far that is even in a foreign country to study. And they didn't go to, they went to school, but they have to get out earlier because they work on the farm. And I never got the opportunity, I say opportunity, of working on the farm because they consider me the youngest, especially losing 2 children before me. I'm not spoiled, but I did study. And I did babysit for the missionaries. So really, so far, is no one went to the high school at the time I went. Now they can't go to high school because it is a neighborhood high school. They didn't have to travel 600 miles to go to high school and go home only once a year.
So in your book, you even said that, I think things have changed now, but even going to church was a mission, right? Because the church was far away.
That was very far away. Now, when I went back, it was just like maybe a quarter of a mile,
Okay.
and everybody walks.
Because before I think it was an hour-long walk to get to church.
An hour walk long, and it is a hill. You go down the hill and up the hill, and I followed my brother who really can hardly walk. He had a polio. You know, he used
Right.
2 sticks.
I read that.
And so it was a long time, but it didn't stop him from going to church. And so I was his follower. Never stopped going until I left home for Germany.
So you also talk in the book that you lived in a roundhouse that your father built, right?
That's correct.
And were you considered at that time, because you had a farm, right? Your family had a farm. Would you consider yourself in your village what class? Middle class, upper class, lower class? How were classes distinguished in Ethiopia?
Really, in the village, I consider our family to be, I wouldn't call upper class, low class, or middle class, but they are educated.
Educated.
Education makes a big difference.
Okay.
And my eldest brother, he didn't even go to school, but he is a number 1 statistician in the village because he writes down everything. I don't know where he learned from, even up to now. Now they all passed away, so there is no way I can go back. But he wrote down a diary every night before he went to bed. So education is a number 1. Our family are really educated. So I'm very fortunate. I was the youngest, but I got the most education, thanks to my brother.
Talk about, because the culture, which one of the things that, and I don't know if I misunderstood or not, that took me aback a bit, was that, I don't know if it was your family or another, that owned slaves. Is that correct?
Unfortunately, I have to say, they may hear me, but they are very well-to-do, but not necessarily education. But
Okay.
They had land, and they did have slaves.
Okay.
But it no longer exists
Right.
after, and we never owned the slaves, but we had people work for us, and they sell whatever they collected, like the coffee, and they help themselves. So we never used manpower as a slave.
Okay.
That's one thing, yeah.
And it was interesting because slavery was abolished in Ethiopia, but not that long ago. Maybe, 30, 40 years ago?
Yes.
Something like that?
That was in 74, everything changed. And those
So about
people,
50 years ago.
yeah, the people that own slaves, now the slaves own the land. So
A little retribution there.
I know because they all are our closest friends.
Okay.
Which is when I went back, it was it's sad to see, but it's also good that those who were disadvantaged were able to get the land and be equal with the rest of the people. So I was really in shock to see that, especially those who are very, very wealthy. Not anymore. They are wealthy, but not by using the slaves.
So you went back in 1994, correct?
That's
was
correct.
it? What was it? Culture shock all over again because you hadn't been there in over 20 years, right? More or less.
25 years.
25 years.
Yeah.
What was that like, seeing the changes in your home country?
First, there was a bus route from the capital all the way to the village where I lived. So I decided on my own that I want to see the country, the beautiful country. And I took a bus accompanied by my other brother, who is a pastor, and then my nephew.
Who was a pastor also, right?
He was a pastor, yeah. And as we were driving, we were stopped by a military, which was a shock to me. I said, it looks like, I don't know, like a war. And I saw a lot of, what is it, the military tanks on the side of the road. And my brother said, do not open your mouth. Because if I talk, they know my accent, that I'm no longer... because I lost my accent, Ethiopian accent. So they said not to talk. My sister also, who is just before me, she told me to cover my hair because even my haircut
was different.
will betray me. So, and I got boots, which I never had in this country. And it was shock, but once I arrived there was a marketplace where usually women go and shop Fridays or something. As soon as I arrived there, I saw toilet paper through a window of a shop. I said, since when did toilet paper came to the village? That was the first culture shock I had because they don't use toilet paper. So it was completely different. I told my brother who lived in city, I said, this should be the capital of one of the province. He said, you did a prophecy. He's a pastor, so he always confirms my statements. Yeah. So it was a shock. I mean, change, bus route, never been there. And I saw my nephews. I haven't seen them in a long time, and they were born after I left. They came to help me to carry the suitcases, to my house.
Yeah.
And I couldn't recognize where I was because, like in this country, they develop, like farms still there, but then they built the church close to ours, and then they built the high school, and I was disoriented,
Yes.
knowing how I used to walk. And then suddenly, my brother, who's a pastor, he said, do you know where you are? I was out of nowhere. And I looked up, and there was a sycamore tree where we used to keep the cattle and rest during, when it is really, really hot. And that's the first thing I noticed, and I knew everybody's house from there on. What direction my house was, what direction our friend's house was, the one who owned the slaves. I mean, it was just amazing. So it was a culture shock even in my own country, so my own village.
Your own village.
Yeah.
So you went to Germany, you studied in Germany, and then I know you went back, and then you came to two of the coldest places you could have chosen, Chicago and Minnesota. You went to school there. And again, incredible career because you started out learning how to play organ, right, in college? Learning how to play.
That was the intention of my scholarship to St. Olaf College.
Right.
From the church where I worked as a secretary. I don't know where they got the idea that I do play organ, but I do direct a choir because of my training in Germany as a pastor's assistant.
Okay.
Maybe they observed me that. Maybe it's a good idea that I learn how to play organ. That's why I came for 1 year.
Right.
So from there, it was a different story.
Right. From there, it was different. I know you got that a scholarship for a next year, and you got eventually into psychology, correct? And education.
Education, that's correct. Yeah.
So you have it's incredible because you have you got your master's degree, right, in education, and I know you went through 2 engagements. You broke both of them off.
The first one was a disaster.
I know the first one was an arranged marriage, right?
That's correct.
And then the second one,
I just to kill time.
kill time, and you grew apart because he was back in Ethiopia, you were here, right?
Yes, I tried. But the first one, really, the missionary director and my brother did it, because actually I don't know if my brother knew it, because when I told him, I dissolved the engagement, which is really like a marriage, and he was a very, very famous person, Ethiopian pastor. He said, "That's the greatest thing you have ever done. This is the brother who raised me, praising me for my decision, not knowing what I'm going to do." So the last one was a teacher. He was my elementary school teacher. But then he was back in the capital city. But I tried to get him here, but never worked. Never worked. 15 different applications did not work. So that was, I always say, that is not God's will. That's what my brother said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So eventually you meet Dominic, correct?
Dominic.
And then from Minnesota to the warmest place you could have come to, you come to Miami.
That's correct.
And what was that like? That had to be another culture shock, I imagine.
Yes. The first time I came, actually my roommate in college invited me to Atlanta.
Right.
So when I got to the airport, I said, I didn't know there was a place that warm in this country. And I thought that I had to take layers of my clothes, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
And Miami, because of my husband, because I was fortunate because he was a professor at FIU, and they couldn't find anyone else because out of 30 candidates nationwide, he was chosen for the FIU for education. He was teaching educational policy. That was his expertise. So that's why I came here. And this is more like our country. The vegetation, everything.
Okay.
Like here.
Not the language, though.
No. The language, I love the Cuban food. I loved the Cuban food. You know, it was delicious, even though it's not the same.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's funny that you mentioned food, because one of the things in the book that I thought was pretty interesting was that when you went to Germany, in Ethiopia, you eat with your hands.
That's correct.
And then for the first time in Germany, you were introduced to eating utensils. That was unbelievable. And Ethiopian food now is very popular.
That's correct. We should go one day.
We'll definitely go one day.
Yes.
So this is just such a small part of the story because, you know, the way I like to say it is, you know, from tending cattle to meeting the president of the United States. Before that, you went to China in a delegation from the United States, which, could you have imagined something like this?
I still don't know how I got appointed to go to China, because they were all like school board members, elected officials, and then there are teachers who are already national certified. But I sat next to the director of the national certification, and she said, Aster, you have everything in your bio. You have to be national certified. And
eventually you did.
No.
You didn't? I thought you did.
I did not. The day I went to practice with someone who already had, I fell. I slipped on a sidewalk.
Oh, that's right.
And that was it. And they said, unless you are in a classroom and interact with the students and live video, we cannot do it.
So not that your slip and fall is funny,
Yeah.
but the story after that is pretty funny when you went to Hialeah for the first time.
Yeah.
And the doctor, tell us about the doctor.
You know what? I heard only bad things about Hialeah. You know, you hear it.
Right.
But what you hear is the truth.
Right.
This doctor, he's a neurologist, and he was smoking pipe. I said, that is a strange doctor. I mean, I've never seen people smoking pipe, you know. It was very serious, but he was the most caring doctor, neurologist I've ever seen. And he was so interested in what happened to my bone. And he said, Aster, I don't care what other doctors say. I don't want you to have any surgery on your back because you don't correct nerves by surgery. So I never had the surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Just getting me, ordered therapy for me. So I was very grateful to him. And I don't like to go there because the traffic and the road signs are completely different. But I was very thankful that my son, my oldest son, who is a mechanic, he drove me there. So that was a good experience for me, from negative perception to positive perception.
Great.
Yeah.
We're switching gears a little bit. I know you've been a community activist for a long time. What inspired you to get started as a community activist? I know at the time you were a stay-at-home mom and you had some concerns about the neighborhood. So tell us a little bit about that.
It really started because people watch me. My friends who are the same age, like they are stay-home moms. And then one lady actually, I love to cook.
Okay.
I love to entertain. And they said, you know, we want you to join the PTA, and we want you to be in charge of teachers' luncheon. And I was so happy. And so, which I did. And then eventually, I just got interested in the neighborhood beautification. And then they started building, more activities in the park. But then the park is open to the public. And afterwards, I said, no, I have to get involved because I live right across from the most beautiful park. And once I started, it just expanded, and people asked me to be part of this one, and it just kept on. So nonstop, really. So it's a domino effect. I cannot say no because I was at one point member of about 8 different organizations. Mm-hmm. It's not only about committee, but church as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it got to the point where you were on the local committee to elect President Obama, who you met at one point.
Yes.
What was that experience like?
It was experience started from dreaming. You dream something, but it doesn't come true.
In the book, you mentioned you dreamed 3 times you were going to meet him, right?
3 times I'm going to meet him. And the first time was June of 2012, and I got an email from one of the organizers said, can you ever believe that you are going to meet Barack Obama at the airport and greet him? I just could not believe it. So afterwards, they asked me to be whenever he came to Miami, to be at the events. Sometimes I have to... at one point, I remember when we had issues about 47% with Romney, mm-hmm. and I have to collect the phone from the dignitaries who came to meet President Obama. That was very, very uncomfortable for me,
sure.
To do that. And I talked all the time with his Secret Services that I was concerned and everything. So I met at least 6 times. The 3 times I gave him a hug and I said, would you be a president again? He came for Hillary Clinton. He said, no way. So he is different, when you get to know him closer. Mm-hmm. And I'm very thankful that I volunteered for him. And then later on, I was on the, what is it called? Affordable health care. Mm-hmm. And for another Congress that I have to do commercial.
Yeah. You went to Washington, right?
Yes. Yeah, I went to Washington and to meet him again. But it's not that I planned it.
No, I know.
It all happened. The same thing about my scholarship. I never planned it. My brother never planned it because he didn't. Once I got out of Ethiopia, I think you read it in the back of where he wrote about me.
Yes.
That he was just like, I surrender everything to God.
Yes.
Let him take care of her. So that's what
it was his plan all along.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
One of the other things that really touched me is, and it's kind of an overarching theme, and you probably won't take credit for this, but is your humility. Because it seemed like nothing was below you. And the best example in the book is, here you are with a master's degree and you went to cosmetology school. How did that feel?
I loved it.
Did you?
I loved it because, number one, I had an interaction with students who really drop out of high school.
Right.
And then they said, why are you here? And so my answer was, really, maybe I can use cosmetology to enhance my teaching career. Now, really, the reason we did that is because I ran out of my student visa. And also I have to go back to Ethiopia, but I couldn't. And at the time I got my master's, the Ethiopian government was overthrown.
Right.
And everybody left the country. And there is no place I can go to. So it was just like it was planned. I didn't even know it. So it was extension of my student visa. And I learned a lot. And anytime I see a woman with clothes that they wear, I said, you look beautiful with that color. So it gave me really insight into other things. It was just a blessing on top of blessing. I never thought of it was below my, education, because it was enhancing my education, actually.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Aster, believe it or not, we are out of time. I told you this time would go very quickly. Please tell everybody where they can get your book. The book is fantastic. I couldn't put it down once I started to read it. Your story is just next level, really admirable, everything you've done in your life. So where can they get your book?
The book is available on Amazon. That's the first one. Barnes & Noble.
Okay.
Books and Books. And Books in a Million. And there are other vendors that carry, actually, internationally as well. But in this country, they are the main bookstores. So far, the libraries, public library, they have to get approval. I think I contacted them. They have to review it,
I think you're going to convince them to carry it.
Well,
knowing you.
God's will, everything happens if it's going to happen.
There you go.
But it is, Amazon is mostly where people go.
Okay.
But Barnes & Noble has it.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. And thank you for tuning in to GKBA Today. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you for having me. And it's a pleasure to be on the Kendall Business Association.
Thank you. Thank you for being a member.
Yeah, thank you.